The CEO who avoided women for 10 years but falls for a poor black woman who walked into the wrong interview. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from today. The morning sun shined through the windows of Sienna Vale's tiny apartment. Her alarm rang loudly for the third time. She groaned, reaching over to stop it, but when she saw the time, she sat up fast. No, 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 she cried, jumping out of bed. Not today. Sienna rushed to the bathroom. She splashed water on her face and brushed her teeth super fast. Today was very important. She had a job interview. This was her last chance. 3 months ago, she lost her job, and now her money was almost gone. Her rent was due next week. In her small kitchen, she drank coffee quickly while ironing her only nice skirt, but the iron burned a little hole in it. Great, just great, she muttered, but there was no time to change. She grabbed her purse and folder of resumes and ran out the door. Outside, it started to rain. She saw the bus she needed, but it was already leaving. Wait, she shouted, running after it. But the driver didn't see her. She sighed and pulled out her phone to call a car. It was too expensive, but she had no choice. When she reached King Enterprises, the big fancy building where the interview was, she was already 20 minutes late. Her hair was wet and her folder was soggy. She took a deep breath and looked up at the tall glass building. You can do this, she whispered to herself. You have to do this. Inside, she walked up to the front desk. She tried to look confident. Hi, I'm Sienna Vale. I have an interview for the assistant job. The receptionist, a woman with perfect makeup, looked at her computer. You're late, Miss Vale. I know. I'm so sorry. The bus. Go to the 40th floor, the woman said, handing her a visitor badge. Take the second elevator, turn right, and it's the third door on the left. Thank you so much, Sienna said, running to the elevator. On the way up, she tried to fix her hair in the elevator doors. She straightened her wrinkled skirt and practiced her best smile. When the doors opened, she followed the directions. She found the third door, took a deep breath, knocked, and walked inside. The office was huge. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a beautiful view of the city. The furniture looked super fancy. Behind a giant desk sat a serious-looking man in a perfect suit. He had dark hair and gray eyes. He frowned at his computer. Sienna's stomach flipped. This didn't look like an HR office, but she was too nervous to stop. I'm so sorry I'm late, she said, walking forward. I'm Vale, here for the interview. The man looked up, surprised. He didn't say anything. Sienna panicked. She had to keep talking before he told her to leave. I know I'm not making a great first impression, but I promise I'm usually on time. The bus left without me, and then it rained, and my morning has been a disaster, but I really, really need this job. She pulled out her wrinkled resume and put it on his desk. I have 3 years of experience. I'm great at scheduling and organizing. I learn software really fast, and I make amazing coffee. I know that sounds silly, but my last boss said it was the best he'd ever had. Still, the man said nothing. He just looked at her and then at the resume. Sienna's heart pounded. Look, she said, her voice softer. I know lots of people applied. They probably have better experience, and they showed up on time, and they don't have a burn mark on their skirt, but no one will work harder than me. I need this job. If you give me a chance, I won't let you down. Then, before she could stop herself, she added, and unlike your soulless CEO who's probably never worked a day in his life, I know what it means to struggle. As soon as the words left her mouth, she knew she messed up. This man was important. She had just insulted his boss. Her face turned red. I'm so sorry, she blurted out. That was totally unprofessional. I didn't mean, the man finally spoke. His voice was deep and calm. That's an interesting thing to say about someone you've never met. Sienna's face burned. I shouldn't have said that. I talk too much when I'm nervous. I should go. She reached for her resume, but the man put his hand on it first. Sit down, Miss Vale, he said. Sienna blinked. What? Sit down, he repeated, pointing at the chair. She slowly sat down, confused. I think you're in the wrong office, he said. Oh no, Sienna groaned, covering her face. I'm so sorry. The receptionist said third door on the left. She meant the HR department. That's on the other side of the building. Of course, Sienna mumbled. I'll just go. My name is Graham King, the man said. Sienna froze. Slowly, she moved her hands from her face. King? As in King Enterprises? Yes, he said. I'm the soulless CEO who's never worked a day in his life. All the color drained from Sienna's face. Of all the offices she could have walked into, she had to walk into the CEO's office and insult him. Mr. King, I am so sorry, she gasped. I had no idea who you were. Not that it's okay to say that about anyone, but especially not you. I'm just going to leave now and disappear forever. She turned to go, but his voice stopped her. Miss Vale? She turned back, expecting him to be angry. Your interview was at 9:30. It's now almost 10. I don't like people being late. I know, Sienna said, and I really am sorry. I know I ruined any chance. Do you always talk this much when you're nervous? He asked, a tiny bit amused. Unfortunately, yes. Interesting. He looked at her resume. You worked at Sterling Financial for 3 years? Why did you leave? Was he actually interviewing her? I was laid off. They downsized. And your job included bookkeeping, scheduling, and data entry? Yes. You said you make great coffee. How do you take yours? Black, no sugar. His eyes flickered with something she couldn't read. That's rare. Life's bitter, she said with a smile. Might as well get used to the taste. Graham was silent for a moment. Then he said, The job you applied for is in HR, but I need an intern in my office. The hours are longer, the work is harder, but the pay is better. Sienna's eyes widened. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an interview for a different job, right now. But I just insulted you. You were honest. That's rare. Most people just try to impress me. Sienna hesitated. Then she sat back down. I'd like to continue, Mr. King. Good. Now, tell me what you know about King Enterprises. 30 minutes later, the interview ended. Graham stood and shook her hand. We'll call you by the end of the day. As Sienna left, her heart raced. Did that really just happen? Back in his office, Graham still held her resume when a sharp-looking woman walked in. Since when do you do interviews? She asked. Graham smirked. Since I found someone who actually speaks her mind. Celeste spoke in a dry voice. How interesting, and started talking about the Carlton merger. But as she spoke, Graham King wasn't really listening. His mind wandered to Sienna Vale. In the 10 years since he had taken over King Enterprises, he had made a rule. Work and personal life should never mix. No office romance, no distractions, no problems. This rule helped him grow his company into one of the most successful businesses in the country. He gave up having a personal life for success, and he never regretted it. Until today. Until a nervous woman with honest eyes and a burned skirt walked into his office by mistake and called him soulless right to his face. Sienna Vale was exactly the kind of person he tried to stay away from. She was emotional, unpredictable, and didn't fit into the serious world of King Enterprises. And yet, as Celeste kept talking about business, Graham picked up his phone. Orion, he said to his assistant, offer the executive intern position to Sienna Vale. She starts tomorrow. Celeste stopped speaking and stared at him. Did you just hire someone without talking to HR? Yes. That's against company rules. I make the rules, Graham said calmly, and I've decided to make an exception. That evening, Sienna sat in her small apartment, staring at her phone. The call had come just as she got off the bus. She got the job. The pay was twice what she expected, and she was starting tomorrow. It felt like a dream, one that might disappear if she thought about it too much. She looked around her apartment. Bills were stacked on the counter. Her fridge was almost empty. This job would change everything. She could finally pay rent on time, buy groceries without worrying, maybe even start saving. And all of this happened because she walked into the wrong office. Because, for some strange reason, Graham King decided to take a chance on her. As she got ready for bed, she couldn't stop thinking about his steel gray eyes, the way he had looked at her not with anger, but with curiosity. Don't be silly, she told herself. He's your boss. Your very rich, very powerful, very off-limits boss. But as she drifted off to sleep, she couldn't help but wonder what tomorrow would bring. Little did she know Graham King was lying awake in his penthouse, wondering the exact same thing. The next morning, Lesiana arrived at King Enterprises 45 minutes early. After the embarrassing way she met Graham, she wanted to make a good impression. She spent the evening researching the company and its CEO. What she found surprised her. 10 years ago, when Graham was just 25, he took over the company after his father suddenly passed away. People thought he would fail because he was too young, but he proved them wrong. He turned King Enterprises into a powerful business. Magazines called him a genius, but gossip columns had a different name. Ice King, the man with no heart. Now she understood why he found it funny when she called him soulless. People already said that about him. As she stepped off the elevator onto the executive floor, a friendly man with kind eyes smiled at her. "Good morning, Miss Vale," he said. "I'm Orion Wilson, Mr. King's assistant. We spoke on the phone." "Oh, hello," Lesiana said, shaking his hand. "Thank you for this opportunity." "Mr. King makes his own decisions," Orion said with a small smile. "Come, let me show you around." As they walked, Orion explained her job. "You'll work closely with both me and Mr. King. You'll organize files, prepare reports, attend meetings, and help wherever needed." "I can do that," Lesiana said confidently. "One piece of advice, Mr. King values punctuality. He expects everyone to be on time." "I understand. Yesterday was an exception, I promise." Orion nodded. "Also, don't take it personally if he seems cold. That's just how he is with everyone." They stopped at a small but beautiful office. "This will be your workspace," Orion said. Lesiana's eyes widened. "This is mine?" "For as long as you're here. Now, Mr. King will arrive in 15 minutes. He'll want his coffee ready." "Black, no sugar." "Just like mine," she murmured. "What was that?" "Nothing. Where's the coffee machine?" After Orion showed her around, Lesiana organized her desk. Exactly at 8 a.m., the elevator doors opened, and Graham stepped out looking serious in his dark suit. Lesiana quickly grabbed the coffee and met him halfway. "Good morning, Mr. King," she said, handing him the cup. "Black, no sugar." Graham looked surprised, but took the coffee. "Thank you, Miss Vale. You're early." "I didn't want to be late again." Something like a smile flickered across his face. "Wise decision. Come to my office in 5 minutes. We have a lot to do." Exactly 5 minutes later, Lesiana knocked on his door. "Enter," Graham called. He was typing on his computer and didn't look up. "Sit down. I'm finishing an email." Lesiana sat quietly watching him. He looked tired. Had he not slept well? She remembered her own restless night, thinking about this job and him. "Miss Vale," Graham finally said, looking at her, "I hired you because I see potential in you. But this is a professional workplace. I expect excellence, punctuality, and discretion." "Of course," Lesiana nodded. "You will have access to sensitive company information and personal details about me. I need to know I can trust you." His voice made her wonder, had someone betrayed him before? "You can trust me, Mr. King. I value loyalty above everything." Graham studied her for a moment before nodding. "Good. Now your first task." He handed her a thick folder. "These are potential properties for our next project. Organize them by profitability and environmental impact. Orion will show you how." "I'll get right on it. One more thing," Graham added. "There's a board meeting this afternoon. I want you there to take notes." Lesiana's eyes widened. "The board meeting? Are you sure?" "It's only my first day. The best way to learn is to observe. Just don't speak." "I understand." As she turned to leave, Graham spoke again. "Miss Vale?" "Yes?" The coffee was perfect. It was a small compliment, but it made Lesiana smile all the way back to her office. Sienna spent the morning reading and working on some reports about different buildings. The work was harder than she thought, but she liked the challenge. Around noon, Orion came to her desk. "How's it going?" he asked. "Good," Sienna said, looking up from her computer. "I think I'm starting to understand the database." "Glad to hear it. I'm going to get lunch. Do you want me to bring you something?" "Oh, that's really nice of you, but I brought a sandwich from home." Orion looked surprised. "Most of the big bosses order food from restaurants." "I'm not a big boss," Sienna said with a smile. "Just an intern on a budget." After Orion left, Sienna took her simple sandwich to the small kitchen. As she was about to sit down, she saw Graham standing by the coffee machine, frowning at it like it had done something wrong. "Is there a problem with the coffee?" she asked before she could stop herself. Graham looked up. "Orion usually makes it, but he's gone to lunch." Sienna smiled. Was the great Graham King, a super smart businessman, having trouble with a coffee machine? "Would you like me to make it?" she offered. "If you don't mind." Sienna walked to the machine and quickly made a fresh pot of coffee. You know, for someone who drinks it black, you're very picky about your coffee. "I like good quality," he said simply. "So I've noticed." Sienna pointed at the expensive furniture around them. As the coffee brewed, the room became quiet. Sienna didn't like silence, so she started talking again. "I was reading about your company last night. It's really amazing what you've done in just 10 years. Graham raised an eyebrow. "Were you researching for work?" "Partly, also because I was curious. You're not what I expected." "And what did you expect? A boss who sits around doing nothing?" There was a tiny hint of a smile on his face. Sienna blushed. "I'll never live that down, will I?" "Unlikely." For a moment, Graham's serious face softened, almost like he wanted to smile. "What surprised you about me, Miss Vale?" Sienna thought for a moment as she poured his coffee. "How young you were when you took over the company, how successful you've been even though people doubted you." She handed him the cup. "And how you don't seem to have a life outside of work." As soon as she said it, Sienna wished she hadn't. "I'm sorry, that was too personal." But Graham didn't seem upset. "Work is my life, Miss Vale. I enjoy it." "No time for anything else? No one else?" His face became serious again. "This company needs all my attention. That's a choice I made a long time ago." Before Sienna could say anything else, the kitchen door opened. A woman walked in. She stopped when she saw them standing close together. "Graham," she said in a cool voice, looking at both of them. "I didn't expect to find you here." "Just getting coffee," Graham replied. His serious face was back. "Celeste, this is Lesiana Vale, my new intern. Miss Vale, this is Celeste Blackwood, our chief financial officer." "We've met," Celeste said without smiling, "in the hallway yesterday." "Nice to officially meet you, Miss Blackwood," Sienna said, holding out her hand. Celeste looked at Sienna's hand, but didn't shake it. Instead, she turned to Graham. "We need to talk about the presentation for the board meeting." "Of course." Graham took a sip of his coffee. "Thank you for the coffee, Miss Vale." As he followed Celeste out, Sienna saw how Celeste put her hand on Graham's arm like she belonged there. There was definitely a history between them, and for some reason, Sienna didn't like it. That afternoon, Sienna sat quietly in the boardroom, taking notes while Graham led an important meeting. The room was full of serious-looking people. Celeste gave a confident presentation, looking perfect in her fancy clothes. Sienna felt small in her simple outfit. But when Graham spoke, everyone listened. He wasn't just the boss. He truly cared about the company. Halfway through the meeting, the door opened and an older man walked in. The room went silent, and even Graham looked tense. "Lucian," Graham said in a flat voice, "we weren't expecting you." "I still own shares in this company," the older man replied as he sat down. "I like to check in." Sienna realized this was Lucian King, Graham's uncle. She had read about him. He had run the company for a short time after Graham's father passed away, but the transition hadn't been smooth. As the meeting continued, Lucian asked tough questions that seemed meant to make Graham look bad. The tension in the room was heavy. After the meeting, Sienna followed Graham to his office, still taking notes. She noticed how stiff his shoulders were. "Are you okay, Mr. King?" she asked carefully. Graham looked at her. "Why wouldn't I be?" "No reason. You just seemed tense in there." For a moment, Graham was silent. Then he sighed. "My uncle thinks he should be running this company. He was my father's CFO for 20 years. He thought he would take over permanently when my father died. But your father left the company to you." Yes, Lucian has never forgiven that decision. Sienna was surprised he was telling her this. It was the most personal thing he had shared all day. "Family businesses are complicated," she said softly. "My parents had a small restaurant. Even that caused enough drama for a TV show." "Had?" Graham asked. "They lost it during the financial crisis. It almost broke them. That's why." She hesitated. "Why what?" "Why I need this job so badly. I've been helping them financially since college." Graham studied her closely. "That explains your determination. You're not just taking care of yourself." "Family comes first," Sienna said simply. "Always." Something in Graham's face changed. "Not always, Miss Vale. Sometimes family is the first to betray you." Before she could say anything, his phone rang. He answered, ending their conversation. That evening, Sienna left the office feeling tired but proud. She had survived her first day. More than that, she had connected with Graham King in a way she didn't expect. As she waited for the bus, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "You did well today. The coffee was excellent. DK." Sienna stared at it. Graham King had texted her? How did he even get her number? Probably from her work file, she realized. Still, the fact that he had reached out made her heart beat faster. She typed a simple, "Thank you," not wanting to seem too eager. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then they came back. Finally, a new message arrived. "There's an important client meeting tomorrow. Be ready to stay late." More professional, less personal. Sienna told herself not to be disappointed. This was a job, not a date. Graham King was her boss, not her friend. But as she rode the bus home, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Graham usually didn't show his feelings, but something about Sienna made him act differently. When she made him coffee, he almost smiled. When he talked about his uncle, he looked a little sad. There was more to him than just being serious and cold, and even though Sienna didn't plan to, she wanted to know more about him. In his fancy apartment, Graham looked at his phone. He had sent a message to his new intern, Sienna, and he wasn't sure why. It wasn't like him to talk to employees outside of work. But something about Sienna was different. She was honest and not trying to impress him. He had hired her on a whim, and now, after just one day, he had told her something personal about his family. He never did that. It was dangerous and distracting, and he had spent 10 years avoiding distractions. His phone rang and he saw Celeste's name. She was safe and familiar. She knew the rules, no emotions, no complications. But instead of answering, he let the call go to voicemail and poured himself a drink. Tomorrow, he decided, he would keep his distance from Sienna. He would be professional, cold, and only focus on work. No emotions, no distractions. But as he looked out at the city, he couldn't stop thinking about Sienna's warm brown eyes and what she had said. Family comes first, always. That was never true for him, but the way she said it made him wish it could be. 2 weeks passed, and Sienna got used to working at King Enterprises. Every day was hard, but she worked hard too. Graham was a tough boss. He wanted everything to be perfect and could be scary. But Sienna liked the challenge. Just like he promised himself, Graham kept things professional. They only talked about work, meetings, reports, and business. But sometimes, she caught him looking at her when he thought she wasn't watching. His eyes followed her, and it made her heart beat fast. One morning, Orion, a coworker, said, "You've lasted longer than I expected. Most of Mr. King's interns quit in the first week." "Really? Why?" Sienna asked as she arranged some folders. "They find him too serious and too hard to work for. They can't handle the pressure." "He's not cold," Sienna said, without thinking. He's just focused. Orion looked at her curiously. You defend him a lot for someone who's only known him for 2 weeks. Sienna's cheeks got warm. I'm just stating facts. Mr. King expects the best because he gives the best. I respect that. Orion smiled like he knew something she didn't, but Sienna ignored it. Later that day, Sienna was rushing to deliver documents when she bumped into Lucian King in the hallway. Papers went flying. I'm so sorry, Mr. King, she gasped, dropping to her knees to pick them up. Lucian didn't help. He just stood there watching her with amusement. You're Graham's new project, aren't you? The girl who walked into the wrong office? Sienna looked up, surprised. You know about that? I know everything that happens in this company, Lucian said, including my nephew's strange hiring choices. He said strange, in a way that made Sienna uncomfortable. Sienna stood up. If you'll excuse me, these are urgent. Lucian smirked. Tell me, Miss Vale, what exactly do you do for my nephew, besides bringing coffee and carrying papers? Sienna felt anger rise in her. I work for Mr. King in a professional way, sir. If you want details about my job, ask him directly. Lucian raised an eyebrow. Interesting. He usually likes his assistants quiet and obedient. I'm not his assistant, Sienna said firmly. I'm his intern. She walked away quickly, heart pounding. Something about Lucian King made her uneasy. It wasn't just his words, it was the cold look in his eyes when he talked about Graham. When she entered Graham's office, she was still flustered. Here are the contracts you asked for, Mr. King, she said, placing them on his desk. Graham looked up from his computer, his eyes narrowed. What's wrong? Nothing, Sienna said too quickly. Miss Vale. His tone showed he didn't believe her. She sighed. I ran into your uncle in the hallway, literally. Graham's face darkened. What did he say to you? Nothing important. It was the first time he had used her first name, and it made her stomach flip. Tell me, he insisted. She hesitated, then said, He implied I was hired for reasons other than my qualifications. Graham's jaw tightened. I see. It doesn't matter, Sienna said quickly. I know why I was hired, and I know I'm good at my job. I don't care what he thinks. Graham looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to the window, his back to her. My uncle has been trying to bring me down since I took over this company. He thinks he should have had everything my father built. He's still on the board to watch you? Sienna asked. To look for weaknesses, Graham said. To wait for me to fail. Sienna hesitated, then asked, Is that why you keep people at a distance? Why you build walls around yourself? It was too personal, and she immediately regretted it. But to her surprise, Graham didn't push her away. Partly, he admitted. When I took over, I was young. People were waiting for me to make mistakes. Relationships became a weakness. So you decided not to have any? It was easier that way. For a moment, the wall between them cracked. The boss and intern were just two people talking. Then the moment ended when the door opened and Celeste walked in. Her eyes narrowed when she saw Sienna. Am I interrupting? She asked coldly. Not at all, Graham said. His professional mask was back. Ms. Vale was just delivering the contracts. I'll get back to work, Sienna said. As she left, she felt Celeste's cold gaze on her. That evening, Orion stopped by Sienna's office. There's a charity gala this weekend, he said. Mr. King put you on the list. Me? But I'm just an intern. Doesn't matter. Be there. Saturday, 8 p.m., Grand Metropolitan Hotel, black tie. Sienna panicked. She had nothing fancy to wear. Her mom suggested an old green gown, and after some changes, it fit perfectly. On Saturday, she arrived at the hotel, feeling nervous. The place was grand, full of rich, elegant people. Then she heard a familiar voice. You came. She turned. Graham stood there in a tuxedo, looking even more handsome than usual. You look different, he said, his eyes on her dress and pearls. Different good or bad? She asked. The corner of his mouth twitched. Different good. Before she could say anything, Celeste appeared, sliding her arm through Graham's. "The mayor is waiting for you," she said. Graham nodded at Sienna. "Enjoy the evening, Miss Vale. We'll talk later." As he walked away with Celeste, Sienna felt a small pang in her heart. She didn't belong in this world, but before she could escape to a quiet corner, Lucian King approached, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "Miss Vale," he said smoothly, handing her a glass. "You look very nice tonight, a big change from the girl who bumped into me at the office." Sienna took the glass carefully. "Thank you, Mr. King." "Please call me Lucian," he said with a small smile. "We are not in the office now." Something about the way he spoke made Sienna feel nervous. She sipped her drink so she wouldn't have to answer. "I've been watching you," Lucian continued. "The way you look at my nephew, the way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching." Sienna almost choked on her drink. "I don't know what you mean." Lucian's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I think you do. Graham has always liked pretty girls, but he has never brought one to a company event before. You must be special." "Mr. King, I think you're mistaken. Our relationship is just professional." "Is it?" Lucian leaned closer. "Let me give you some advice. Graham doesn't do relationships. He only spends time with women for fun. Just ask Celeste." Sienna glanced across the room. Celeste stood close to Graham, looking like she belonged there. "What about Celeste?" "She and Graham have an agreement. No strings, no promises. She wants to marry him so badly that she takes whatever attention he gives her." Lucian's smile was mean. "Is that what you want, Ms. Vale? To be another Celeste?" Before Sienna could answer, she felt a warm hand on her back. Graham had appeared beside her, his expression serious as he looked at his uncle. "Lucian," Graham said in a tight voice, "I see you've met Ms. Vale." "We were just chatting," Lucian said smoothly. "Such a lovely young woman. I can see why you are interested in her." "Miss Vale is a good worker, nothing more," Graham said firmly. Those words shouldn't have hurt, but they did. They were the same words she had told Lucian, yet hearing them from Graham felt like a slap. Nothing more. Of course, what had she been thinking? "Excuse me," Sienna said, putting down her glass. "I need some air." She walked quickly to the terrace. The night air felt cool on her warm face. She leaned on the stone railing, looking at the city lights. She felt foolish. She should have known better. Graham was a billionaire CEO, and she was just an intern in a borrowed dress and fake jewelry. "Sienna." She turned. Graham stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. "You should go back inside, Mr. King," she said, trying to sound calm. "Your guests are waiting for you." "What did Lucian say to you?" he asked, stepping closer. "Nothing that wasn't true," she said softly. "That I'm just a worker, nothing more." Graham was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What did you expect me to say? That I hired you because I couldn't stop thinking about you? That I broke all my own rules because I couldn't stay away from you?" Sienna's heart raced. "Is that true?" Graham took another step closer. She could feel his warmth. "I told myself I hired you because you were hard-working," he said quietly. "But the truth is, I hired you because for the first time in 10 years, I wanted something more than business. I wanted to know you." "Graham," she whispered. He reached out and touched her cheek lightly. "This is a bad idea. I'm your boss. There are many reasons I should walk away." "Then why aren't you here?" "Because for once, I don't want to do the right thing." His eyes searched hers. "Tell me to go, Sienna. Say this is wrong, and I'll leave. We'll pretend this never happened." She should tell him to go. It was the smart choice. But when she looked into his eyes, she couldn't do it. "I don't want you to go," she admitted. They stood there, frozen on the edge of something big. Then Graham's self-control broke. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her. At first, the kiss was soft, giving her a chance to pull away. But Sienna wrapped her arms around his neck, letting out all the feelings she had tried to hide. Graham deepened the kiss, full of passion. It felt like home, like something she had been missing without knowing it. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Graham rested his forehead against hers. This changes things. I know. People will talk. I don't care, Sienna said with certainty. Do you? Graham pulled back to look at her. I've spent years caring what people think. I let it control me. For once, I want to do something just because it makes me happy. His fingers traced her jaw. You make me happy. Really? Sienna asked, hardly believing it. You make me feel alive, he said simply. I didn't realize how much I had closed myself off until you walked into my life. Sienna smiled. Literally walked into your office. Graham chuckled. Best mistake anyone ever made. Neither of them noticed the man hiding in the shadows, taking pictures with his phone. Lucian King smiled as he slipped back into the ballroom. His nephew had finally shown weakness, one Lucian could use. The next morning, Sienna woke up smiling, thinking of Graham's kiss. She had a text from him. Dinner tomorrow? Just us. She replied with a simple, yes. She was picking out a dress when her phone rang. It was Celeste. We need to talk, Celeste said coldly. About what? Don't act innocent. I saw you with Graham. That's none of your business. Celeste laughed. Oh, but it is. Graham and I have an understanding. He may have fun with other women, but he always comes back to me. That's not what he told me. Of course not, Celeste said. Graham knows what to say to get what he wants. He doesn't do love or commitment. He's married to his company. Why are you calling me? To give you advice. Don't mistake a moment of passion for something real. You'll just end up hurt. Celeste hung up. Sienna sat on the bed, feeling unsure. Was she just another one of Graham's distractions? Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Graham. Looking forward to tonight. I'll pick you up at 7. Sienna hesitated. Should she cancel? But then she thought of his words from last night, of his kiss. She couldn't give up so easily. See you then, she texted back. She had to take a chance. Meanwhile, across town, Graham's assistant called him in a panic. Sir, you need to see this. Someone leaked photos of you and Ms. Vale. The news is saying you're in a scandal. Graham opened the article. The headline read, Ice King melts for intern. There were pictures of him and Sienna kissing. He clenched his jaw. Only one person could have done this. Lucian, he muttered angrily. His phone buzzed again. It was a message from his uncle. Emergency board meeting at 2 p.m. We need to discuss recent events. Lucian called a big meeting. He wanted to use this chance to make Graham look bad as a leader. Graham sent a message to Orion. Find Ms. Vale. Tell her to come to my office right now. Sienna was trying to decide what to wear for her date with Graham when her phone rang again. It was Orion. His voice sounded serious. Miss Vale, Mr. King needs to see you in his office right away. Something about his voice made Sienna feel nervous. Is everything okay? Just come as soon as possible. Sienna quickly put on a simple blouse and skirt and rushed to catch a bus to the office. While she was on the bus, she looked at her phone and froze. She saw a news article with pictures of her and Graham. Oh no, she whispered, feeling her face turn red. She felt worried and embarrassed. When she arrived at King Enterprises, people were whispering. When they saw her, they stopped talking. The receptionist, who was always polite but cold, couldn't even look at her as she gave Sienna a visitor badge. The elevator ride felt like forever. People stared at her and whispered. Sienna looked at the floor numbers, trying not to cry. When she reached Graham's office, Orion gave her a kind look. He's waiting for you inside. Graham was standing by the window. He turned around when she walked in. His face was serious. You saw the article, he said. It wasn't a question. Sienna nodded. I'm so sorry, Graham. I never wanted to cause problems for you or the company. This isn't your fault, Graham said firmly. It's Lucian's. He took those pictures. He gave them to the news. Why would he do that? To make people doubt me. to make them think I can't lead this company. Graham ran his hand through his hair. He looked frustrated. The board has called an emergency meeting this afternoon. Sienna felt sick. What are you going to do? That depends on you. On me, I don't understand. Graham moved closer, his eyes searched hers. The PR team wants me to lie. They want me to say the photos don't mean anything. They want me to say our relationship is only professional. Sienna's heart sank. Of course, that made the most sense. I understand, she said softly. You need to protect the company. That's what I've always done, Graham agreed. For 10 years, I've put this company first. I never let myself have a real personal life. I never let myself be happy. He took her hands, surprising her. But I don't want to do that anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want to lie. I don't want to pretend that our kiss meant nothing, because it did mean something, Sienna. It meant everything. Sienna felt tears in her eyes. But your company, your reputation, they are important, he said. But so are you, so is this, whatever this is between us. They stood in his office holding hands. Neither of them had expected to be in this moment so soon. There's something else you should know, Sienna said. Celeste called me this morning. Graham's face darkened. What did she want? She told me about your arrangement. She said you always go back to her. She said this is just temporary. That's not true, Graham said, his voice angry. Celeste and I had something casual years ago, but it ended. She just won't accept it. So there's nothing between you now? Nothing romantic? No, Graham said firmly. She's just the CFO of my company. That's all. He squeezed Sienna's hands gently. What I feel for you, Sienna, is something I've never felt before. It scares me, but I don't want to run from it. The intercom on his desk buzzed. Mr. King, Orion said, the board members are here. Thank you, Orion, Graham said, still looking at Sienna. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. After Orion left, Graham let go of Sienna's hands slowly. I have to go. What will you say? What will you say? The truth. He looked determined. That I won't let Lucian or the board control my life, that my relationship with you has nothing to do with my ability to run this company, and if they don't like it, they can find a new CEO. Sienna gasped. You don't mean that. This company is your life. It was, Graham said. Maybe it's time for that to change. Maybe there's more to life than work. Before she could answer, he leaned down and kissed her softly. Wait for me. Whatever happens, I want to see you after. Sienna nodded, unable to speak. Graham walked out, his head held high. For the next 2 hours, Sienna waited nervously, pacing his office. Then, finally, the door opened. Graham walked in, looking tired but lighter. What happened? Asked. It was interesting, Graham said, loosening his tie. Lucian tried to make me look bad. Some board members agreed with him, others didn't. He smiled a little. Orion defended you. He said you were the best intern we've ever had. That was nice of him, Sienna said. In the end, I gave them a choice, accept that my personal life is mine, or I quit. Sienna's eyes widened. You didn't. I did. And? Lucian and 2 others voted to let me go. The rest voted to keep me. Lucian was so mad he quit. He quit? Yes, he's gone. He can't hurt me anymore. And Celeste? She voted to keep me, though she wasn't happy when I told everyone that you and I are together. Graham moved closer. If that's what you want, Sienna nodded. You just risked everything for me. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. 6 months later, Sienna stood in Graham's office, now her office too. She had worked hard and earned a promotion. The company was doing great. The press had moved on. Lucian had disappeared. Ready to go? Graham asked, walking in. Almost. Just finishing an email, he smiled. About the new scholarship? Yes, inspired by my parents. It's a great idea, Graham said. Sienna turned to him. Who knew that getting lost and walking into the wrong office would lead to this? Graham smiled. Best mistake ever. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Sienna gasped as he opened it. Ring. Sienna, will you marry me? Tears filled her eyes. Yes. That night, as they told her parents, Sienna looked at Graham. The Ice King was gone. He had found love, family, and happiness. And all because one day she had knocked on the wrong door. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.